You're listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
Engage.
78 years have passed since the days of the original USS Enterprise. Now a new Galaxy starship has been designed.
Hailing frequencies open. Welcome to Galaxy Class, a Star Trek The Next Generation podcast on BQN. I'm holo photographer Stefan.
And I'm Ambassador Steven.
Yes, you are. How are you, Ambassador Steven?
I am well. How are you, holo photographer Stefan?
I am a little congested. I was at a friend's birthday party and they had pets last night, and I am allergic to some pets. So if I sound a little raspy, I am working my way through that with some hot tea. But
Earl
I can
Grey
breathe now, which is nice.
Right.
I literally, when I was going to the kitchen, I was like, we're recording Galaxy Class today. I should drink Earl Grey. I don't have any.
I have your address. I have your mailing address. I'll have to send you some. I am drinking Earl Grey in my
letter bomb.
Yeah. It's important, right?
You're drinking Earl Grey in an Earl Grey mug.
I am drinking Earl Grey in an Earl Grey mug because my cat's name was Earl Grey. Earl Grey abounds in my world.
Your cat's name was Earl Grey?
Mm-hmm. He was a gray tuxedo cat. So it was either going to be Earl Grey or Gandalf the Grey. Obviously, I went with Earl.
That's such a great name. Well, I'm drinking chai out of a Lion King mug. Speaking of cats, so I'm not so official here with my tea. I gotta get some Earl Grey. Well, it has been a little while, so kind of getting back into the flow of things. Like I said, I had to go dig out my microphone from living in a box for a little while, but retraining my brain on how to do this talking into a microphone thing. Not that I don't do that for work all the time, but
absolutely.
We're back.
I'm excited for season 3 of Galaxy Class. Look at that. We are doing it. We're moving forward. We're doing a thing. People listen to us and stuff.
Yeah. No, thank you for everybody to everybody that's listening to us. I think it's going to be a good season. I'm excited to talk about more episodes and talk about the personnel of the ship that we love.
Yeah, listeners, thank you for sticking with us, and as always, we're looking forward to hearing what you think of things moving forward.
Yeah, and speaking of episodes, today we're going to discuss an episode from season 6 of TNG called Frame of Mind. So let's get into it, shall we?
Let's do it.
Frame of Mind, Season 6, Episode 21. A very Riker-centric episode. Now, listeners, I picked this episode to cover. I am, as you may recall from me talking about before, always in a rewatch of all the Star Trek episodes ever. Presently, I'm rewatching all the classic shows, the 90s shows. I'm rewatching the animated series. And this happened to be where I was at in TNG with my rewatch. And I thought, oh yeah, that's a good one. Let's do that one for the podcast. So Steven, when I suggested this one, I'm curious what you thought just initially.
Initially, I thought, what? I initially had absolutely zero recollection of this episode. And I think you added another line about generally what it was about. I was like, oh, right, that one. But initially I was like, frame of mind. Like, and listeners, I've mentioned this in the past. I'm not great with titles of episodes. If you give me a sentence or two to go on, I'm pretty good. But and again, you added, I don't know, where Riker goes crazy. And I was like, oh, right, that one. Da 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 da. Or however you said it.
So when you just said what, I thought you meant what? That's not a good episode to review. But it was what is that?
Exactly. It was I don't know what he's talking about.
So I'm not terribly good with episode titles either, but some of them just like spark an image. And this one, like when I looked at my list, I was like, oh yeah, that's like the image that came to my head was like where Riker looks all like messed up and like sleep deprived. And I was like, yeah, I remember that episode. It's a real good one. I always thought. Well, I'm glad you're willing to go over this episode. Do you have any other initial thoughts?
I remembered that there was this sort of like back and forth between the Enterprise and the Surface, and I tried to remember how many times they go back and forth. I couldn't even put a guess on it, but I remember there being just sort of like is this real? Is this real? Is this real? Is this real?
Yeah.
And so I was just excited to look at the episode, not with fresh eyes, but with, I've not seen it in a while eyes.
Did you feel like you had like a ballpark understanding or remembrance of like it swapping back and forth like a few times? I didn't count. I don't know.
I remember doing it a few times, and I recall that there was a moment where it's supposedly back to real, but it's not, and how trippy that must. I remember feeling. I remember the echo of a feeling when I first watched it, or maybe an earlier watch of it, where I felt, oh God, that must be so disconcerting to just never know if you're really awake. And I think as I get older, the things I think about, or the way I think about these things is different, right? Like from life perspective, and thinking how unsettling that must be. I did like I remember that sort of emotional memory of, whew, this is uncomfortable.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you said that, because often when I go to rewatch an episode, I can more remember the feeling I got from that episode than like a lot of the real particular things, right?
Right.
And my feeling with this episode was like, I remember it feeling creepy and feeling claustrophobic, and I did also remember there were like layers to it, and I just remember it being such a trip. I wrote down a few things before I went and watched the episode. Again, I mostly remember the emotions from the episode, but not all the details. So like the first thing I wrote down that I remembered was like, oh yeah, this is the Riker in a mental hospital episode, right? I remembered that from the title frame of mind. The second one was his doctor or captor's freaky makeup is what I wrote down. And I wrote down, I'm not sure if it's actually creepy visually or if I just found it creepy because of the episode.
Interesting.
Because like I remembered Riker stuck in this like room before I watched the episode. I could kind of see the aliens in this episode in my head having like big eye ridges, and like I remember thinking it was very scary, but again, not really sure if they just look that way, and it's just the tone of the episode that I thought was scary. Yeah. Having watched it, I don't know, which is it, Steven?
Given all the things I think we're aware of as adults now, this episode didn't seem nearly as creepy scary as like things that are happening in real life, right? So I feel like because I mean I would have watched this as a kid initially, so I think it would have felt incredibly creepy, and even bordering scary at the time. And now, definitely a creep factor, And for me, it was again more the unsettling notion of never really knowing if is this reality? Are we back to reality? And maybe always having that question, which really comes up a few times in Star Trek, right? There's the inner light, right? The intro into his life on that world. There's another episode with Riker, and listeners, I don't know the name of it, but with the Romulans and the kid.
Second chances.
Yeah, there we go. So this is a recurring theme in Star Trek. Yeah.
That's actually the third point that I wrote out that I remembered, was that it had multiple layers and something about Riker firing a phaser only to find out he's living in an illusion. Like I remembered that visual ahead of time because I remember thinking that was really cool. But nice. Yeah, it is a theme that kind of has come up a few times in TNG, done differently, right, and done well. And distinctly, I think, between the episodes. Yeah, that episode you mentioned, that one's so good. And
I like that episode a lot.
I find it a little like it's a little scary at the end to me because like I think the alien's kind of creepy, but that's a me problem. But it's such a good episode.
Absolutely.
My fourth point that I wrote down before watching the episode was his doctor actually being unsettlingly creepy. Now, when I watched the episode, and we'll talk more about the episode after we recap it, but when I watched the episode, I was like, oh, his like doctor is actually kind of nice. The guy that escorts him to the eating area, that's kind of a jerk, and then there's like the lieutenant that's on the ship, like that is hella creepy. But his doctor in the episode was not actually creepy, so I didn't quite remember that one right. Did you remember there being a relatively nice doctor in this episode?
I was just not aware of the minutia of this episode escaped me. It was broad strokes were what came to mind for me.
Sure. I also remember that at some point Riker thinks he's in a play in 10 Forward, but he's in a hospital. That came to me a little bit more on the 10 Forward set later. I also thought I remembered that there was a trombone in this episode because, Riker plays a trombone, and I thought I remembered there was like a scene with a trombone in this episode before I watched it, since that happens occasionally with Riker.
Well, and that does happen in Second Chances.
Yeah, here I am getting these these different episodes mixed up. So, and then I remember the image of Riker screaming through that little circular window on the door. And then the last thing I wrote down was, I remember the feeling the most, and that feeling was fear. There were not a lot of times where I found TNG actually unnerving, but this was one of them. The only other significant time was in Schisms. That's not an episode I watch by myself because I'm scaredy cat, and that episode freaks me out. It's the one where crew members are being abducted and then returned to the Enterprise. Do you remember this, Steven? Like Riker feels like he's not getting any sleep because he's being abducted.
Super
creepy. They go in the holodeck to kind of like gather everybody's thoughts and recreate what was happening. Like that episode is terrifying to me.
Yeah, that's a deep one.
It's a good one, but it's very like the clicking. Remember the clicking, like when they're recreating the atmosphere. They're like, there's sounds in here. It's like this.
I had a visceral reaction when you said the clicking. I like full body shake. Ooh.
Yeah, that's how you know they did a great job.
Mm-hmm.
So, quick little recap of this episode. It's the one where Riker thinks he's losing his mind, keeps shifting between an alien hospital and the Enterprise, where he's rehearsing a play. So that's just a quick recap. On Memory Alpha, listeners, feel free to pause this episode and go watch it, because we're gonna deep dive into our experience of watching this episode. But I'll give you a lengthier recap of it. Commander William Riker is rehearsing for a play aboard the Enterprise called Frame of Mind, in which his character is confined to a mental institution. However, as the episode progresses, the lines between the play and reality begin to blur. Before an undercover mission on the planet Telanis 4, Riker starts experiencing strange hallucinations. He sees flashes of himself in a mental hospital being interrogated by alien doctors who insist he's delusional and that his life on the Enterprise is a fantasy. Each time he thinks he's escaped one reality, he finds himself trapped in another, unsure what is real. Eventually, it's revealed that Riker has been captured by the Telonians during his mission. They've used a neural scanner to probe his mind, causing his disorientation and blending his fears with his memories of the play. Riker ultimately breaks free from the illusion and is rescued by the Enterprise crew. So, that's a general recap, listeners. Hopefully you recall that one, or maybe you just watched it. It's a really, really good one. I looked up some of the kind of behind the scenes notes in this, Steven, and a couple of surprises, actually. First off, Brandon Braga was interested in doing this episode, apparently to remedy his feelings that Riker was underutilized.
Interesting.
And I thought about that. I was like, was Riker underutilized? I don't know, kind of, I guess.
I think Riker's a character who is omnipresent, but also does a lot of rehashing things that are already said or sort of obvious statements, right? Like I think he's there a lot, but the depth of his character, I don't think is addressed or seen much.
Yeah, if I think about character-centric episodes, I think it would be easier, at least for me, to come up with probably more character-centric Worf episodes. Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Riker was present a lot. I don't feel like he was ever really missing from the show, but didn't have, I guess, as much to do as the other characters. So I think this was a success in giving him a little bit more of the spotlight. I also found this episode was directed by James Conway, who also directed Deep Space Nine's Duet, The Way of the Warrior, and Little Green Men. Any of those episode titles ring a bell to you, Steven?
Yes. That's as far as I got. They sound familiar. That's what I've got.
So Duet was an early Deep Space Nine episode, which was essentially Akira talking to somebody that used to work at a labor camp and determining if he was as much a war criminal as she thought he was.
Oh, yeah.
It's phenomenal. You remember? Okay, you remember
incredible
this
episode. Absolutely.
I know, it's like one of Deep Space Nine's best episodes. Same director. I had no idea. And The Way of the Warrior is that two-parter where Worf comes on to Deep Space Nine.
Right.
That's a fun episode. I think it's a good, solid episode. I always like the battle scenes and like the way that Worf decided to like come onto Deep Space Nine. I think that's a pretty solid episode. What was interesting to me in this little list was James Conway also directed Little Green Men. So that's the Deep Space Nine episode where basically Rom, Quark, and Nog end up being like the Roswell aliens.
Right. It's a whimsical episode.
Yeah, and it's Deep Space Nine like to take these fun whimsical detours once in a while, right? And this is definitely one of those that I thought was good. They had a lot of Ferengi episodes, which sometimes I enjoyed them, and sometimes I was like, no, it's too much. But I did like Little Green Men, and I did think it was a good episode. So a little bit of a surprise that James Conway, man, like got some range, gave us this fun episode and some really serious ones. He was also Ira Steven Bear's one of his favorite directors on DS9. And then the last thing I found out about James Conway, apparently he was in the running to direct the movie Star Trek First Contact.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
I had no idea.
James
that's
Conway.
like a beloved movie, right?
Yeah.
So apparently it was Patrick Stewart's influence that led to Jonathan Frakes directing First Contact, but I guess James Conway was in the running for that.
That's interesting. I think that so for myself, Star Trek First Contact is my second favorite Star Trek film, and it would be my favorite of the Next Generation films. But to see where Jonathan Frakes' directing career has gone since, I'm sort of happy that that's how that worked out. His sort of proving his chops, so to speak. And now I know when I watch current Trek, when I at the end of the credits when it says directed by Jonathan Frakes, I'm like, I'm excited. Like, what's this episode's going to be about, or how's this going to work out? So anyway, that's interesting. It's interesting because I don't like James Conway is not a name that's known to me.
I know some of the names of a lot of the recurring directors throughout Star Trek.
Sure.
But James Conway, that wasn't familiar to me. He's apparently also directed Supernatural and Smallville and Charmed. Have you seen those shows?
Whoa. So I've seen all of those shows, and something just clicked into place when you said that, because the vibe is very that actually makes a lot of sense, because the sort of creep factor that can be in Charmed and can be in Supernatural is very present in this episode, and there's a similar vibe to the episode in terms of how it's laid out. So that actually makes a lot of sense to me.
I've maybe seen a couple of Smallville episodes, but not really watched any of those shows. But yeah, go James Conway. A little more trivia here. Oh yeah, well, you actually already brought this up, Steven. This is the second time Riker gets trapped in a multi-layered simulation. First time was in episode 4, where he wakes up 16 years later. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so this is where he's captain of the Enterprise. And go ahead.
Yeah. He has the kid. I misspoke earlier. I said Second Chances was the name. I was thinking of something else. That's Future Imperfect that you were talking about.
Okay.
My bad. See, listeners, I don't know episode titles either. So it's Future Imperfect. We're talking about the one where the kid makes a simulation and Riker thinks he woke up as a captain and Picard's an ambassador or something, right? So apparently this was the second time he got stuck in a multi-layered simulation. And then, so Brandon Braga stated that this is Jonathan Frakes' best episode. What do you think?
Well, this is actually
best episode for Riker?
I don't know. I mean, I guess for most of the cast, I can't like name a best episode, or I wouldn't be able to just sort of speak to that. But one of my first notes, actually my very first note in rewatching this episode was, this episode showcases the depth of Jonathan Frakes' acting abilities.
Totally does.
It's the first note. It's the first note I made.
He's really put through the ringer, and I think that's when you bring out an actor that like you're not you like you said earlier. We see Riker all the time, but we don't see him put through the ringer like in this episode. And he did such a great job at playing like tired and just over it, and influenced by people telling him that he's crazy and not knowing what reality is exactly. Yeah, he absolutely came through in this episode for sure. If I were to think if this is this Riker's best episode, yeah, maybe. What's the one where he has a transporter clone?
Oh,
maybe that's second chances.
Our listeners know they'll correct it for us. No, so we I think that's a really powerful episode for Riker, in that Jonathan Frakes gets to really act in kind of two sides of the same coin in a way that many of our cast members don't get to. I imagine it was a fun episode for him to get to play with and recreate his own role through this transporter accident. If I had to name another episode that was a Riker-centric, excellent Jonathan Frakes episode, that would be it.
Do you remember when that character came back? Thomas Riker, right? When that
I
character
sure
came
do.
back on Deep
Space Nine.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
I think I remember when that episode came out, whenever that would have been, like mid-90s, late 90s. I remember like specifically thought it was Riker, and then he ripped off his fake sideburns.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And we're all like, oh crap. Yeah. I
dun,
think
dun,
that episode is defiant. Yeah.
Yeah.
So good for Jonathan Frakes getting to reprise this, as you said, kind of different take on his character in another show.
Yeah.
And Jonathan Frakes came back for Voyager, right? Remember the episode where the Q is trying to take his own life, right? Isn't that the one where he brings in other people to Voyager, and one of them is Riker, because this Q is talking about one of Riker's ancestors. I probably shouldn't be talking. It's something like that.
Well, and Riker's in Enterprise.
Riker's in Enterprise. Everyone's favorite series finale. These are the voyages.
Yikes.
Man, I know people like to rag on that episode, but like I honestly love that episode. So you can fight me on that.
I don't mind it as an episode. I just wish it weren't this series finale. I think it could have been a fun episode at some point. Maybe a season finale. Maybe that was I don't know. Like I mean, they must have known they were canceled before that episode was recorded. I think that would have been great as a season finale, and then come back for another season. But to wrap the series that way, feels a little disingenuous to me. But it was I liked the episode. I didn't like it as a finale.
Yeah, I think it is. It's a fun episode. I understand the intention behind it, right? They've always said, like Brandon Braga said, like this was meant to be a love letter to Star Trek, which had been running consistently on the air for like almost 2 decades. I appreciate the intention, and that very last part where they have the original series Enterprise. They've got the Next Generation Enterprise, and then they have the NX-01 flying off into the sunset. I think that's a beautiful ending to that episode, but I do agree it probably would have been better placed elsewhere in this series. But again, another chance for Riker to come back. And where else have we seen Riker? Lower Decks. He's gotten around in the different series, right? And as you brought up, Picard. Like it's nice to see him direct.
Yes. You know, I remember at one of the STLV conventions, Star Trek Las Vegas, on a panel, Jonathan Frakes. This was it was either just as Picard was starting to air, or maybe it was after the first season had wrapped. But he talked about how nervous he was to return to acting, that he is so much more comfortable and confident as a director, and that he really felt uncomfortable. I thought his reprisal of Riker in Nepenthe was incredible. I was like, there he is, like that. He was Riker. He completely inhabited that role again. But
the Riker voice
Yes.
Like when the kid is like yelling that Picard's here or something, and he's like, "Stop yelling!" It's the Riker, like that's Riker's voice. Like, and it's
Absolutely.
yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, but I it's interesting to see like that Jonathan Frakes feels much more confident and comfortable, and believes he is more successful as a director than an actor. I mean, I think his directing speaks for itself. I'm really happy with the work I've seen that I'm aware of. It's his as a director.
Was it the most recent episode that he directed? The Strange New Worlds kind of retro a space adventure hour in this most recent season of Strange New Worlds. I think he directed that one. I could be wrong.
I think you're right. I'm not certain, but I think you're right. Yeah. That sounds right.
And maybe he did one after that. There weren't too many after that, but I'm pretty sure he directed that one because I think he was talking about that at STLV. And yeah, Stephen, I do remember him bringing up that he was a little nervous to come back as Riker because I think he had said he hadn't flexed his acting muscles in a while, and his other castmates had. But he got back into it, and we're all glad he did. I love that. You don't remember episode titles, but you remember that was Nepenthe. I was like, hey, there's an episode title you remember.
So I will say, because of how many conversations I've had over the years with friends and fellow Star Trek fans, and seeing like, once they get into it, I know the episode. I just don't know the title. So in newer Trek, I have made a concerted effort to try to memorize episode titles with limited success. But I've really made an effort to try to memorize these episode titles. So that one, I'm like, wait, I know this. I can speak about it and say the right title.
Yeah. Well, then I will come to you when I need episode titles for New Trek, as they call it. I think that episode is called A Space Adventure Hour. Am I wrong? I feel like that's
that sounds
called.
Right.
I'm
not done so well with the newest season of Strange New Worlds. In terms of remembering titles of episodes, I just try to enjoy it.
While we're talking about Jonathan Frakes and conventions, he's just always great to listen to. I listen to other producers or actors that they enjoy their work and they like talking to the audience, but man, Jonathan Frakes is like, he is so excited to keep doing what he's doing. And that enthusiasm is infectious at conventions. And I do love listening to him talk about, I remember him saying how he's always excited that he gets to do this for his job. Yeah. Like it's not lost on him that like not everybody gets to be a part of this really widely beloved franchise, and not everybody gets to create these shows that people love. And sure, he's directed some things that some people have had issues with here and there, like the Icheb death scene in Star Trek Picard that comes to mind. I remember him talking so excitedly about how gory it was and how like people are gonna love it. Personally, I was like, it's a little gruesome for me. I like the Icheb character, but whatever the case, whether it works for you or not, I do always appreciate how much Jonathan Frakes is so excited about what he does, and never a boring speaker at conventions.
I agree. His joy is infectious when it comes to discussing Star Trek, whether it's acting, whether it's directing. In fact, this last convention, I saw a story kind of making the rounds on social media afterward, where on the Sunday of STLV, someone noted that they were in the exhibitors room, right, the vendors room, and Jonathan Frakes walked in and saw Ethan Peck and yelled across the back of the room, "Hey, Hot Spock!" And like, what a fun! He's just he's like a good guy. He's like fun loving, and he embraces the fandom. And yeah, I mean, what a joy for us as fans to have him as part of our fandom.
Totally. Yeah, totally. The last little kind of behind the scenes thing I wrote down was that fellow writer Naren Shankar has commented that he believes that this is Brandon Braga's best episode he ever wrote for TNG. I mean, I know Brandon Braga and yeah, it is. And then Ronald D. Moore, like they wrote a lot of TNG episodes. So is this his best episode? I don't know. That's subjective, of course, right? Best episode to me is not going to be the same best episode to you or like anybody else. So like I can't speak on that, but certainly Naren Shankar thinks that this was the best episode Brandon Braga wrote. And I mean, it's a really good one. I'm not going to disagree.
Yeah.
So let's talk about our reactions to the episode itself. It had been several years for me since the last time I watched this episode. How about you, Steven?
Oh, it's been quite some time. Yeah. At least probably better part of a decade.
Yeah, it's probably same for me, because the last time I would have watched this was my last watch through of TNG, and that was years ago. So in going through the episode, I thought it was interesting. You know how we watch Star Trek like basically our entire lives, and it takes on different meanings at different times. This is really just a small thing, but I thought, okay, this is really interesting to think about for me, Stefan, in 2026, because my life is a little bit differently. So there was a scene early on where Dr. Crusher was talking to Riker about rehearsing for the play, and he was really tired, and she was like, there's such a thing as over rehearsing. And I was like, I mean, last time I watched this episode, I had not done any acting, and I've kind of like dabbled in it a little bit, and I have literally thought like, is over rehearsing, like, is that a thing? And so when she said that, I was like, oh, okay. So as a person now that occasionally has dabbled in acting, that's just kind of hits me a little bit differently. I mean, you certainly have more acting experience than I do, Steven. Is Dr. Crusher right? Is there such a thing as over rehearsing?
I am in no way, shape, or form a authority on this. I would say yes. There's a point at which that you can't go over anymore. It's either the character's in you or it's not, and there's only so much you can do. Along those lines, actually, a note I made was how neat it was to see Gates McFadden, who is a director and a theater person in real life, be doing this in this episode, right? At the time, I didn't know that. Of course, now we know that Gates is extensively involved in the theater. So I thought that was pretty neat to see that, just to be able to know what we know now about Gates and her background, and see her get to do like to dabble a little bit in that in this episode.
Yeah, and this is maybe my ignorance. Like, I know that she's a choreographer and that she has been involved in theater to some degree. Does she also direct? Has she directed things? Okay,
I believe so.
Sure.
I believe so.
Okay.
I hope I'm not mistaken there, but I'm pretty sure she directs as well.
Well, whatever the case, I mean, she's certainly in that kind of creative realm. So
Right.
Yeah, pretty cool to see her taking that role here in this episode. I thought it was pretty interesting. This is just kind of like a bit that I thought was funny, where Riker is walking through the corridors of the Enterprise, like reciting his lines really seriously, and then a crew member walks by him and just kind of like looks at him like, okay, dude.
Right.
I was just like, well, it's an interesting choice as the second in command of the Enterprise to choose to like recite your lines out loud while you're walking down the hall, and have your crew look at you like, you all right, bro?
And I think that it's an interesting writing choice to have that happen, because it adds to that sense of, is he crazy? Is he not? Right. So like walking down the corridor of the Enterprise dressed as he was, kind of, and I think it adds to that sense of wonder. Is he crazy? Is he not? What's going on? So I agree with what you're saying about him as second in command of the Enterprise, but also as from an episodic standpoint, that the writing, I thought it was an interesting choice. I liked it.
I was like wondering what that crew member was thinking. Is he crazy? Well, that's the whole theme of the episode, right? And kind of along those lines, I quite liked the idea of, this is the crew of the Enterprise, and they're all like flying around in this little tin box and doing missions and stuff. But I liked the idea of this day in the life. They're entertaining themselves by doing a play, right? In particular, I liked the scene where Picard told Riker that he cannot back out of Beverly's play, otherwise she'll go after Picard to play his part. And that just kind of lended a sense of, these people are like kind of stuck together, living, the dream of being on a starship and going on missions and exploring. But they're kind of stuck together. So they're together doing a play here and there, and it's like, not even the captain can escape. They all kind of just got to make it work as a community outside of being a starship crew.
Absolutely. And I appreciate the trope of like a play in a play, or like a show in a show. Like, right, so here's a play that's taking place on the show we're watching, and I like that. I like that sort of like if you're familiar with the play Noises Off, I really appreciate that sort of. So it's a play about a play that is going to hell in a handbasket, and all kinds of shenanigans ensue. But it's a play about a play, and I really enjoy that kind of trope. I think it's a fun way to experience, whether it's theater or television. I think it's fun. I think it's a fun choice. So I appreciated that, and this added the dark layer of the question of his sanity. But regardless of that dark piece, I like a play in a play.
Stephen, what is the name of that play you just mentioned?
Noises Off.
Noises Off. Okay, so here's my question, which is actually almost exactly the next thing I wrote about this show. So in that play, Noises Off, is Noises Off the name of the play in that play?
Oh God, I don't remember. Oh no.
Okay.
There goes my theater card. Card.
No, I think it's safe. The reason I asked was that a note that I wrote down was that I did not remember that Frame of Mind was the name of Beverly's play.
Right.
But it's also the name of this episode.
Oh yeah.
So that's the reason I asked about your play Noises Off. I'm like, is it the same kind of thing? Earlier, I had mentioned before watching this episode, I thought there was a play that took place in 10 Forward, but as I was watching the episode, I was like, I don't think this is meant to be 10 Forward. I think it's a redress of 10 Forward that's meant to be a theater or some other space on the Enterprise. How did you read that, Stephen?
Well, so earlier in this episode, you and I talking, and you mentioned 10 Forward. I thought, wait, I didn't see that as 10 Forward. I saw it as a theater, right? Like they used it the theater in the episode.
I think that's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, like the episode. Oh gosh, with Sarek, right, where Picard has to take over for Sarek because he has the disease, and there's a performance they go to. It's that same space. I think it's a theater on the Enterprise. I think.
But
I mean, I don't
think it's a redress of the 10 Forward set.
I see. Okay, I missed what you were saying before. Yes, I do think it is. I think I mean, how many sets are they building, right? I think that's
right. Sure.
That makes sense. Yeah. I think that's the case. Yes.
We need to dig out our old schematics of the Enterprise D and find where the theater is. I think. You got him. Steven has a very robust collection of Star Trek reference books sitting right behind him. We will research this later.
I'll give
Mike any respectable fan should.
Right. I'll just give Mike and Denise a call, and they'll let us know.
I'm also friends with them in my head.
Right. They seem like fun.
I mean, they're so nice. Like they're like so likable. I love talking to them and watching their panels at conventions. They're so great. But yeah, I do agree with you. I think it's supposed to be a theater, but when I was looking at it, I was like, okay, so shape wise, like that door's over there, the walls over here, kind of feels like they're redressed 10 Forward, but it's a grand Star Trek tradition to redress sets and use them as something else.
Absolutely. A week ago, I was watching Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, and watching them walk through the corridors of the Enterprise, and it's totally the Enterprise D corridor. It's the same set. It's the same corridor set.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh yeah, right. That's yep. That's we do that.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, we love it. I don't see any issue with that. That's why they manage the budget as well as they can they redress sets. Like 10 Forward also showed up again in Star Trek 6. But yes, redressing sets, I do believe that was supposed to be its own theater. Another note I took was on the creepy lieutenant in the audience, and I wrote down he is creepy with capital letters. And I'm going to go on a little tangent, which ends up back in Star Trek, though. So the creepy lieutenant sitting in the audience in that theater has a really intense stare, and the makeup and the intensity of the stare reminded me of the movie The Fourth Kind. Have you ever seen The Fourth Kind?
I haven't.
It's a movie about alien abductions. It actually takes place in Alaska, and it's about alien abductions and where people report seeing owls outside of their window with really like big eyes. And it turns out in the movie, like they're not owls, they're aliens with big creepy eyes. So that movie scared the crap out of me. Like I didn't sleep all night when I saw that movie. So that level of intensity and creepiness of the lieutenant in the audience reminded me of the level of creepiness in the movie The Fourth Kind. And I just looked up The Fourth Kind just to look it up. And it happens to be directed by a director that has also done some Star Trek movies. Olatunde Osunsanmi. I'm so sorry. That's probably not actually how you pronounce his name. I believe they call him Tunde when they talk about him at conventions, and he's done some Discovery episodes. I had no idea, but I was just like, okay, random Star Trek connection. He directed the Star Trek Section 31 movie, which we don't really need to talk about that. But yeah, I was just like, okay, that's kind of crazy that it kind of loops back to like a Star Trek director. Small world, I guess.
We're everywhere.
Ugh. Yeah, true. Speaking, that's a good transition to another point I made was Riker in this episode is in Ward 47. And do you know about 47 in Star Trek?
I don't know that I do.
Okay, so I had to verify what I remembered, but it was correct. So the writer Joe Menosky, who started writing in like the early like the TNG episode show and like DS9, he wrote Voyager. I don't know that he wrote DS9. Anyway, he's written a lot of Star Trek, and he started inserting the word 47 into a lot of episodes. So it's like it's the number that you will hear the most, like shields are at 47%, or like 47 this, 47 that. He started inserting this into the script, so it's kind of a fun little like Easter egg to listen out for. It's shown up in Discovery. I don't know if writers are just like carrying on this tradition of inserting the word 47 into scripts. But I looked it up because I knew Joe Menosky was responsible for getting this 47 ball rolling, but the origin can be traced back to Pomona College in California, apparently. There's a club called the 47 Society that claims that there exists a mathematical proof that all numbers are equal to 47. I don't know how that works. And that the number 47 occurs with greater frequency in nature than other numbers. Wow. So I don't know if Joe Menosky was like part of this club. Sounds a little culty. I don't know. Was part of this club and then just decided like, yeah, let's throw 47s in the scripts just for fun. I've heard it joked that 47 is like the answer to everything, like in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but adjusted 42. For inflation.
That's
yeah,
40.
exactly.
Oh, just
42,
for,
but adjusted for inflation.
Okay.
In any case, I always enjoy when the number 47 pops up because it's kind of like, oh, there's another one.
Interesting. That's a fun fact.
And now you can look out for them as well. I also thought so they were serving spiny lobefish in the food area in. You look like you had a similar reaction to me. I like
that was and the fact that Riker didn't react to spiny lobefish. I actually I thought about this for a while. Like I actually stopped watching the episode was still playing, but I kind of stopped paying attention. Like spiny lobefish, ew. How do you? Is that poisonous? Is it painful? What part do you eat the spiny part? Like my mind went down this rabbit hole of like spiny lobefish. What? Yeah, and it didn't look like something that would be easily edible by a human mouth.
It looked like shards of like bone that it just looked like it was thrown in a blender, and it was just like these sharp pieces of bone with maybe some white fish meat. I was like, no, thank you. But I did think Spiny Lobefish is a great band name.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, good one.
Yeah, so put some ketchup on that. And another thing I wrote was Mavek is a jerk. So not the doctor, because I thought the doctor was kind of nice, but that guy Mavek who's like escorting Riker around the different areas of the hospital. Oh my gosh, that guy's such a jerk. This is a testament to the actor. I looked it up. His name is Gary Wentz. He's married to director and producer Mimi Leader. That name was familiar to me, but I was not sure where. Does that name ring a bell to you at all?
It does not.
I don't know why I knew that name, but she directed Deep Impact and Pay It Forward.
Oh wow. Okay.
So yeah, apparently she's married to Gary Wentz, the guy that played Mevek, and he played him so well that I wanted to slap him in the face because he was so good at feeling just kind of pompous and unsympathetic to Riker. He works in this mental hospital, but like so indifferent to the mental state of the patients in the hospital. It's like, oh, I really don't like that guy.
You see sort of the classic bully of, I'm going to take the thing that's most obvious about you that is maybe sensitive, that you're maybe sensitive about, and I'm going to use it I'm going to weaponize it against you, right? So here are folks in a supposed mental institution, and he's like making fun of them, and it was very teeth clenching, anger provoking, like just want to smack you upside the head.
On a previous episode, we ended up discussing Professor Umbridge and Harry Potter, and how like we only hate her so much because the performance was so good.
Right. The actress did such a great job.
And this guy, Gary Wentz, apparently who was also in the show Firefly. I don't know what role he played, but I guess he had a spot. He wasn't a regular character, but apparently he was in one of the 13 episodes of that show, which I liked. Did you like Firefly?
I loved Firefly. I loved it.
Who didn't?
I don't recall him. Yeah, excellent show.
And I liked the movie too. Serenity. I thought that movie was great.
I actually saw the movie before I saw the show. And then years later, like I saw the movie, then years later, I had a roommate that was like, you love all these things I love, you're going to love Firefly. And then we watched the whole thing, loved it, loved every second of it. And then she was like, oh, we should watch the movie. And we start watching, like, well, wait a minute. I've seen this. Like, this is, wait, this is, it doesn't make, it's good. It's good. I enjoy it.
Yeah. That's cool you saw the movie before you saw the series, because like I do think the movie does a good job at like explaining the world to you, to where like you don't really need to have watched the series.
Yeah.
It's a richer viewing experience if you did spend more time with these characters and the nuances and backstories and all that. But the movie definitely stands on its own, I think.
I agree.
So Gary Wentz was somewhere there in Firefly. Couldn't tell you what part. It's been so many years since I've watched that series. I should rewatch that. It's not a long watch. It's like 13 episodes. So
yeah.
Well, just a few more discussion points on this episode. I thought the score was really good. So this is like the Jay Chataway era of scoring TNG, right? I think earlier in the series we had Ron Jones, who we've seen at conventions, seen Jay Chataway at conventions. And I know throughout the life of TNG and those 90s shows, I think the aim was to make the music to be very much in the background and like not really be such a strong presence in the episodes. But I did think that this just creepy haunting piano by Jay Chataway was really beautifully done to enhance the unsettling nature of the episode.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think that this is an episode that I don't really think about. It's not one of my like favorite episodes. It's not one of my, I'm not a huge fan of that. It's just sort of there for me.
Yeah.
But watching it in the context of this podcast episode and really thinking about it more critically than I would otherwise in a just regular rewatch, it's really well done. It's really well done. Like from the writing to the acting to the scoring, it's a good episode.
It really is. Like I remember this being a good episode. Rewatching it, I was like, yeah, this is really well done. My next note that I wrote down was that it's so satisfying to see Worf punch Mavek when he and Data come to rescue Riker. I feel like Worf was all of us in that moment. Like,
yes.
Knock this guy out.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. Side note about Worf and Contact. In the part of the episode where he cuts Riker with a knife accidentally, I'm like, there is no way a Klingon will accidentally cut you. That no. Either he's pissed at Riker, right? Which we know wouldn't be the case. Worf wouldn't act out like that. But that's an obvious hint that this part's not real, because there's no way Worf would accidentally cut Riker by the temple, right? Like that just no, don't buy it.
He's too skilled, right? He's too skilled a warrior for that, right?
Exactly.
You think of Klingons with like they have heavy brute strength, but Worf also has nuance to his fighting style. Like he does like the calisthenics, and he does like he teaches that kind of Tai Chi class. I don't remember what the name of it is, right? But there's like, I think Worf does have a more precise way of handling weapons than I don't think he's going to accidentally slice Riker in the face.
His level of self-control in terms of his combat style is unparalleled with anyone else in the Enterprise, and yeah, to have that oops, I'm sorry, Commander, no. He's sorry, Worf, you're not that sloppy. Yeah, exactly.
And then we see that evolution in season 3 of Star Trek Picard when he returns, and he's super like precise ninja Worf.
Absolutely.
Love that. And finally, I said I remembered watching this episode the first time and being impressed that you can set a phaser to destroy half a building at level 16.
Mm-hmm.
I remember this being impressive to me whenever the first time I watched this. Like my first like Star Trek toy was a Type 2 phaser from TNG. Thanks. So I was always kind of like fascinated by like the hardware that they use, like the different gadgets, and like the phasers in particular I thought were really cool. But I do remember watching this episode and thinking, oh, one of these little things can destroy half a building. Wow, that's really impressive.
I mean, if it can vaporize a person, but I guess that's where like the setting piece, it felt strange to me, the number, right? So 16. Because I would think that, okay, so does it go to 20? Is that like why stop at 16? Or this would destroy half a building. Well, because like the highest setting is supposed to vaporize someone. So what? Yeah, I did think a little bit about that. Like it's interesting, and I wonder if it's just a moment where like the writer wrote a thing that made sense for the moment in that episode. And
sure,
I think we as Star Trek fans are very observant and have such a wide-ranging internal database of like how things function. Like I mentioned earlier in this episode that I recently watched Star Trek V, and the turbolift scene drives me insane every time. Because when they're fleeing and they go on the booth and they go to like deck 76, I'm like, it only had so many decks, and they like pass like the deck 24 like 2 seconds into the scene. I'm like, that's not how the decks work. It's not how the turbolift works. It's not just like an elevator. It goes laterally. It goes up. I'm like, and it still irks me in that scene. But it was a great scene for the effect of escaping the folks and the going up. I'm sure it was a great scene to play, but it completely inaccurate in terms of how the Enterprise actually would have been laid out. So that's a much deeper thing than the phaser piece. But I remember thinking when I watched it this time around, the episode, why 16? Why is that? So does 20 like get the other half of the building? Like, I don't know. Like, where does it go?
I want to know what ended up in the reference books. Surely there's a book behind you somewhere in that library of Star Trek reference books that will tell us. Yes,
probably.
Maybe
I can look it up.
These are the nerd things we like to ponder, right?
Indeed. This is what makes it fun. The what ifs and how does it, and yeah, it's fun.
So that's my kind of reaction list to the episode. Did you have anything else you wanted to like discuss in particular, or should we talk about our just broad overall impressions of the episode and call it a day?
Let's go on to broad strokes. Yeah.
Okay. I'll start with mine. I do sometimes watch an episode of Star Trek that like I don't remember a whole lot, or that very much is not quite as I remembered it.
Mm-hmm.
But that was not my experience watching this. I do feel like in watching it this time that my impressions were this is about how I remember it. Mm-hmm. Unsettling, very well acted, very, very well written. It stands up to what I would have considered opinion of it being an excellent episode. So I was happy with it. Glad to rewatch it. I think it's a real good one, and I enjoyed talking about it. What did you think overall, Steven?
I am glad that this was the episode you recommended. It's again not an episode that I would go to, just because it's not an episode that stands out to me in terms of the ones I rewatched that are really good from my perspective are ones that made me feel really good, right? There was something moving, something touching, something happy. And this was not that. And it's still a very well done episode, right? So when I do, it's been a while since I've done a rewatch of just like episodic going through season 1, season 2, season 3. I find now I'm more often will either do a random like pick a number between 1 and 7, pick a number between 1 and 24, or and just watch that episode, or I'll look for a specific episode. I want to watch this because I want to feel those feelings, right? So this is an episode that just hasn't come up in quite some time. So it was nice to revisit it. It was nice to take some time to think about Riker as a character and Frakes as an actor, and see how this episode kind of laid itself out. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. Thanks for choosing it.
Yeah. No, I'm glad. In recording these episodes, it's always kind of fun to see what little tangents we end up going on. And I did not expect that we would go on such a like Jonathan Frakes is frickin' awesome tangent, but we did because he really is.
He is.
And
he really is.
Yeah, he really is. And he nailed everything that was asked of him with this episode. So it was a good one. It was a good one. And now is the part of the show where Steven and I engage in an activity that we like to call Collector's Card Roulette. As you may recall or may not, Steven this time is holding a pack of collector's cards from we'll call it the TNG or the 90s era, where we had TNG, original series before that, of course. DS9 was on its way, Voyager. So we're gonna pull a card out of this pack from the era, and we're gonna see how it connects back to TNG. Now, it could very well be a TNG card, in which case we'll talk about it. Or maybe it's a card that is from TOS or DS9, and we'll just try to think our way through how this connects to our beloved TNG show. So, without further ado, Steven is going to pull a random card from his pack, and we will talk about what that is.
All right. I have pulled Evolution, Star Trek The Next Generation. So the front of the card shows it's a sort of cartoon piece of art. Not cartoon, but it's not a photograph. It's a piece of art. It shows the Enterprise facing 2 binary stars with some planets nearby. And the front says Evolution, Star Trek The Next Generation. So the back of the card number 39, Evolution. This moment from the episode Evolution is one of tremendous impact, beauty, and terrible danger. While the USS Enterprise is on a research mission to investigate the explosion of a neutron supergiant binary star, young Wesley Crusher's genetics experiment escapes from containment and threatens the ship. It becomes apparent that, in the midst of the death of this binary star, Wesley has inadvertently helped to create a new life form, nanites, microscopic machines that reproduce, evolve, and develop a sentient intelligence. The artist on this card is Bob Eggleton, and the inspiration is of course the episode Evolution. So, hey, lucky TNG card.
Yeah, is that one of your go-to episodes, Steven?
It's not actually.
It's not one of mine either.
Yeah, I think that as Trek expands more and more, I find myself rewatching a lot more new Trek. Not necessarily ignoring quote old Trek. I don't know if I like the old new, but it makes sense, right? People know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is not an episode I would say, oh, let me go watch Evolution. But I do recall it, and it's kind of a fun episode. Yeah.
If you had told me that it was Evolution and not told me what the episode was, I probably wouldn't be able to tell you like a synopsis or anything. Like Evolution, I'm like, I don't know. Is that the one with the exocomps? I just watched that and I don't even remember what that episode name is. Yeah, Evolution. Yeah, this was, I might be remembering the wrong episode, but is it the one where Wesley is shown at a desk in his quarters, fallen asleep, slumped over his desk sleeping, and then like his experiment escaped and then chaos ensues?
Recall.
I honestly don't remember.
I don't actually recall.
Well,
I recall a small like environment.
Yell at us.
Right, there was some sort of small environment in which he was conducting the experiment, and yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah. That's about all I got. I mean, we know Star Trek is about exploring strange new worlds and new civilizations. And if you accidentally created a new civilization or a new life form, then I think that sounds like a good episode that I should probably rewatch. And I will get to it on my next rewatch in 14 years.
Incoming transmission.
Calling all audiophiles and Trekkies. Prepare to boldly go where no podcast listener has gone before with the diverse soundscapes of BQN. We're not just a network, we're a universe of exploration, entertainment, and deep dives into the topics you love. Here's your star map to the sonic adventures awaiting you. Charting the Star Trek cosmos, we have all good things. Embark on a comprehensive journey through the entire Star Trek universe with insightful crew of Amy, Christos, Kelvin, and Kristen. From classic to current, they cover it all. Galaxy Class, Engage. Stephen and Stefan pilots this deep space mission, meticulously covering all aspects of Star Trek: The Next Generation. Infinite Diversity. Stay current with the newest Star Trek frontiers alongside Chrissy and Thad. Union Federation. Whether your allegiances lies with Starfleet or the Planetary Union, Kyle, Kevin, Amy, and Haley offer a unified front discussing both current Star Trek and the truly Trek at heart, the Orville. Crack open that book with Peter and the Trek Book Club podcast. Delve into the rich tapestry of Star Trek's beta canon. What's the TBAB? Christos spills the latest Trek news and fandom insights with an essential LGBTQIA+ perspective, complete with engaging guest interviews. Our visual voyages that you can find on YouTube as well as a podcast are Treksperts Quiz. Think you're a Starfleet Academy graduate? Test your knowledge with Davey and MC's challenging Star Trek quiz show. And the View Screen. Tune in live on Sundays for your dose of Trek-inspired talk show. Kelvin and Amy host new 8-week seasons each spring and fall. Beyond the final frontier, we have Bargain Bin Gamer. Davey and Mitch, your self-proclaimed gamer guides, lead you to digital treasures, unearthing and reviewing the most affordable video game gems. Cinema Z. Grab your metaphorical popcorn for Mark and Matt's cinematic deep dives, unearthing overlooked films that demand your attention. History with the Szilagys. In order to never repeat it, tune in as Chrissy and Jason deliver bite-sized snippets of historical events from around the globe. In Transformational Journeys, Lex Rosa explores what it means to embrace authenticity in the face of societal expectations. To unlock deeper levels of engagement, try our patron perks. The Hive Mind is where you can join our random script readings, live reaction shows, and roundtable discussions. And check out our back catalog of It's Green, a verdant cornucopia of topics offering diverse and engaging conversations, and Amy's Math Moments. Discover the subtle and not so subtle mathematical wonders woven into the fabric of Star Trek. You can stay connected to our ever-expanding galaxy of content by following at BQN Podcasts on Instagram, Bluesky, YouTube, and Discord. We appreciate you choosing BQN to fill your auditory needs. Thank you for listening. Assimilate the audio.
We would love to hear what you thought of today's episode and hope you'll join us on our Facebook group, the BQN Collective, BQN Podcasts on Bluesky, or our Discord server to continue our discussion there. Links can be found in the show notes.
Priority 1 message from Starfleet coming in on secured channel.
Here on BQN Podcasts, you will never hear commercials on any of our shows. If you'd like to help us keep our shows coming to you each week, ad-free, consider becoming a patron of the network on Patreon. For just $1 a month, you can join our Let's Fly reaction show, script readings, and other perks. Visit patreon.com/BQN for all the details.
If becoming a patron isn't your thing, you can still support the show by sharing our posts on social media, talking about it with your friends, or hitting the subscribe button on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts, and leaving us a star rating and written review. That helps others to find the show.
At this time, we would like to thank our very own associate producer, Jim McMahon, and a special thanks to Mark White for our show artwork. We are so grateful for your support, and to all our listeners, we send out a heartfelt thank you. Thank you for beaming aboard the Galaxy class, and until next time,
make now always the most precious time.
And if we're going to be damned, let's be damned for what we really are.
Engage.
Hailing frequencies closed.